Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink is by Diamine, and I have it in sample form, and it is Diamine Evergreen. Now, I feel like pretty much every brand has at least 3 inks, or I'd say larger brands have at least 3 inks that are woodland themed. And honestly, I just needed more ink to test, but there's something about this ink that's quite interesting, and I hope this will show up in the vial. So, it's taking its time. But it is very blue in the vial. It's actually like a blue teal, and it goes on blue and then dries to this color green. Now, I am a native Californian. I have a special place in my heart for the evergreens. I'm not sure this is what color I necessarily think of, but it is a brilliant, lovely green. Alright. Now, these are the 2 pens that I used. This is a Nemosine. It's a Singularity, and it's a 0.6 stub, and so it's kind of a small stub, but can you see that? You see how you can't see through the tines? Yeah, this is a fairly dry writing pen, and keep it around for just that reason. Actually, about 2 of them. Because then I also use this, which is a Pilot 78G with a double broad nib, but both their single broad and double broad nibs are actually stubs. Yeah, and this one's a fairly big stub. In fact, I think it's, when I measured it, I think it was 1.2 or 1.3. Yeah, and actually, as you can probably tell, I've flossed the nib a couple times because I like this quite wet. So I thought it would be a nice contrast. 2 stubs, 2 very different experiences. Alright, you know what? I'm going to start with the chromatography this time. Now this is the chromatography as it's meant to be done. You can see where that initial drop was put. Now this is a very like hazy blue. It's almost like a China pattern blue. And then you get this hint of blue going up. And then you get green, but it's very yellow in the center. I hope this comes through right up at the top. You have more of that sort of China pattern blue. Now here's where I let it dry, which admittedly is not how you're supposed to do it, but over the years it's kind of, I don't know, it's revealed things to me about how an ink behaves. As you can see here, dot is much darker. Again, very yellow at one point, but there's a lot less blue up at the top. So I thought that was interesting. Now, I wanted to find some comparables, and like all week I have had comparables approaching the dozens, but I think this one was like 8? Yeah, yesterday's I think it was like 19, but so here's Diamine's Evergreen, and here's KWZ's Iron Gall Green Gold, because I thought that like sort of through here, see that? It's kind of similar to this through here. But yeah, that's an Iron Gall, and it's got crazy intense shading. I can't wait to test that one. Now, this is Private Reserve's Avocado, and I wanted to include it because sort of like right there, you know, like that light green kind of reminds me of sort of the medium green through here. But yeah, this one is sort of more of a bright green. Also, I heard recently that they finally changed the name to Avocado. If you know whether that's true or false, please leave a note down below because I'm curious. Now, here's another Iron Gall green. This is KWZ's Iron Gall Green number 3, rather than Green Gold. And again, I thought sort of these medium bits kind of reminded me of actually sort of the darker bits through here. And then lastly, Noodler's Army Green. And I think like the darker parts through here kind of look like the medium bits through there. But yeah, there you go, comparables. Now I wanted to see what this ink could sort of stand up against, and the answer is pretty much nothing. But yeah, so camera, calm the heck down. What's wrong with you today? Now, as you can probably tell from this water test, yeah, pretty much nothing remains. But remember, inks that are water soluble are very easy to clean out of your pens with just water, and this was. 1/3 bleach solution, amusingly, actually left behind this weird, like, I don't even know what to call that color, pomelo. Oh, people from the US probably don't know what that is. Anyways, so if anything, like the water really got rid of it. This sort of just changed color and left it there. Ammonia pen flush really got it moving, but again, water did just fine. And this was the most distinct reaction I've ever seen an ink have to hydrogen peroxide. It turned it bright lemony yellow, which I found very amusing. On to the paper test. Top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. Now, again, here I say it goes on very blue and dries green. Now, this color doesn't necessarily make me think of the evergreens that I know, but I do really like it. And actually, I almost wish I had pulled the swab, but there's a lot about this ink that really reminded me of Diamine Salamander. Like if you took some of the salamanderiness out of that ink and just made it more straight green, you get something kind of like this. But that sentence made no sense to anybody who doesn't agree with me. But anyways, that sentence didn't make sense either. Anyways, so that 0.6 fairly dry stub took 11 seconds. As you can see, some moved, but it's fairly thin. But that 1.1 that's fairly wet also really got moving. And I just wanted to point out, you see the stuff at the center? It's much more yellow. So I thought that was cool. Now look at this shading. It's beautiful shading, especially in that broad, slightly wet stub where it's really pulling that extra ink around. I think that looks lovely. Great in the scrubby, but also, I really hope this shows up on camera. You see that? There's sort of this hazy sheen that started, and I've sort of called it coppery, because it does sort of have a coppery color, but it's like a copper that's starting to tarnish a little bit, so it's still like kind of bright, but it's also kind of brown. I don't know, it's a very interesting contrast, and so that with this green and the evergreen, it does kind of, it's kind of tree-ish. But yeah, it is wet flowing. I'd say it's a 6. It's going. So if you've got a pen that's already pretty wet, be careful with it. If you've got a pen that's pretty dry, pretty nice. But yeah, so there is no water resistance whatsoever. That is totally gone. There's maybe the vaguest hint of blue, but it sort of dyed this whole area, this like 3 by whatever this is bit. And then you just get these little dots, and each of those things is from the 78G. That is really gone. But yeah, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. There is some sheen. Next up is Fabriano Echo Claw. It's an 85 gram per square meter paper. I'm going to try and hold this still so you can get a good look, but I am ridiculously caffeinated. Looks good, right? I mean, look at this. Look at the shading. Looks real good. And you get it in the writing, and you even get like a bit of a halo effect around the wettest parts. That's nice. Ah, real good. But yeah, so that 0.6 stub took 12 seconds to dry. That 78G with the double broad stub took 17. Really not too bad, considering this is a decently saturated ink. It's wet flowing. Look at this. Now, I don't know what to call this color. I'm sticking with coppery, but if you got something better, I would very much like to hear it, because I can't put my finger on it. But again, that's a nice contrast, right? That shade of green with that sort of brownie kind of thing going on. It's nice, right? Anyways, very well behaved, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. You do get that sheen. Looks real good. And again, we have utterly no water resistance. But again, very easy to clean out your pens. Yeah. Again, there's like this hazy blue all through there. And you get actually the camera's darkening that up a bit. I can kind of see the A. But anyways, yeah. It would not be easy to recover if for some reason it got very, very watery around your writing. Next up is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Again, fantastic shading. Here, you can see that halo effect around the wettest parts. That's rather nice. Writing looks real good. That 0.6 stub took 11 seconds to dry. That 1.1 took 14, which is not bad for a wet ink and a fairly wet, fairly large stub. Again, you get this nice sheen, which is a very nice color contrast in comparison. And again, very well behaved. No bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. No water resistance. it's really, really gone. So, on the safe side, maybe don't use this to address envelopes. Unless you're gonna, you know, do the thing with the candle wax, because that's cool. Yeah. Next up is Tomoe River paper, which is known for drawing out shading and sheen, and dry times and echo. But, yeah, gotta say, it looks good. Now, this is a cream paper, and, I mean, maybe you won't agree, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it sort of softens the ink a little bit. You like, here it's a little brighter. Here it's a bit more mellowed out. Maybe I'm nuts, but I don't know. It's still a very nice color, and again, because it's Tomoe River, it's one of the things that it does. There's just sheen all over the place in the wettest parts. Again, we get this very distinct halo effect around the wettest areas, especially in that stub. Very nice. It does draw out dry times. That 0.6 stub is 15 seconds, but that 78G is only 21, which, I mean, when you see, that went right off the page. I was expecting something much worse. Could be much worse, but again, it's Tomoe River, so there's no bleed, no feather, no spread. But since this ink can get pretty dark, and this paper is ridiculously thin, if you're super sensitive to echo, maybe something to be aware of, especially if you're going to use like a broader wetter nib. And this paper loves to let ink slide away when you add water. You almost wouldn't know anything was ever there. That's insane. Amusingly bad at resisting water on that paper. But yeah, next three tests, I only used the 0.6 Singularity, except to write the name. And this is the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. This stuff is just utter trash. But, yeah, we do get a good bit of spread. If you look at the line width here versus here, it got broader. I mean, it didn't get insanely broad, but it is noticeable. And the thing is, you lose that shading. But it's still a very nice color. Like, you know, like the color is appealing, but yeah, I mean, it took 1 second to dry on this more absorbent paper. That was nice. You do get some feathering, but honestly, I was expecting it to be much worse when I saw how bad the spread was. But look at this. Despite this being the world's worst copier paper, there's like maybe 1 or 2 spots where there's like a hint of something. That's with the 78G. Even there, didn't come all the way through. That is not bad. That impressed me. Now, this is what I mean when I said that this ink kind of reminds me of Diamine Salamander. That ink is sort of this weird green, but it's very blue at the bottom with lots of like yellowiness. That's definitely what I'm getting here. Yeah, the blue at the center, very solid. That's not moving. But that yellow is kind of leaving. And it did dye the page. And just to show you how awful this paper is, you see these little like cone shapes here? The paper started to act like chromatography paper and just started sucking the ink up, which was awful. Yeah, next up is Mead Notebook Paper. This is the kind you'd find in like a spiral notebook, like a 5-star. Not so much the kind you'd find in like a lab notebook. And lately this stuff has been feathering like crazy. This time, not so much. I mean, we do get a couple little things like the top of the O and echo. Yeah, really not so bad. You get a bit of a, oh, bottom of the E and remains. Honestly, compared to what you've probably seen the last like few months, could be a lot worse. 2.5 seconds to dry. You can see that you still remain able to see a bit of shading. Like top of the W, top of the N, bottom of the X. Just a little bit. Not a ton. But it's nice for such an absorbent paper. No bleed. None. Not even with the 78G. You see a little bit of something going on, but it does not come even close to getting to the other side. Really, really not bad. And the water test, honestly, could be a lot worse. You know, it didn't feather, didn't explode, and again, the blue at the center. Very clear, very there. If you had to recover that, you could. The yellow and green stuff does kind of wash off. Could be a lot worse. Now lastly is Moleskine notebook paper, which I hate because it's terrible. But 6 seconds to dry. You know, you've got like this wooliness going on here. You've got feathering, but I guess it could be worse. I mean, we've definitely seen worse. Well, we've seen much, much worse this week. But yeah, you got a lot of tiny spots of full bleed. Like this got onto the page below, and for such a like dry writing, pretty small stub, with how well it was doing before, I really would have hoped for better, but this is Moleskine, so what are you gonna do? And look at this water test. None of the other paper, okay, most of the premium papers, it was gone like it was never there, but for an absorbent paper, I don't know what's happening, because even this blue at the center is freaking out and kind of washing off, and I don't know what to make of that, but yeah, there you go. So, there you go, for your consideration, Diamine Evergreen. It's a very nice green. It's darker than an army green. It does kind of remind me of Private Reserve Avocado. It's got this great contrast with this like coppery sheen. And it's kind of fun to watch it go on very, very blue and then dry to this sort of green. Not a lot of water resistance. Like amusingly bad water resistance. But yeah, there you go, for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.